and they will do almost anything to get close to those players. So we have to be a step ahead of them. And I mean, I've seen it where they would come dressed up like if we're providing coverage at a hotel where they're having their meetings and actually staying, where they'll dress up like housekeepers.
Oh, goodness. Just to get to their room to try to,
Yeah, so we scrutinize everything. And we have caught people who are pretty crafty in some of the ways of trying to get in to see their favorite players. And they're relentless. They are absolutely relentless. It's like a cult, like something I've never seen.
Hey guys, my name is Nikki Renfro. I'm a recently retired state trooper, and I decided to start a podcast, Safe Nation Podcast. We're covering safety, security, and law enforcement. Well, I'm glad you got out today and came to the studio so we can do in person.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a lot better in person, right?
It is. I enjoyed our conversation. So.
Yeah.
So
So
you
are the Obie Bryant Jr. Make sure we get Junior on the end of that.
Yeah, don't give my daddy credit for this.
Right. President, CEO, right, of your security company, Bryant Safety and Security.
I am president and CEO of Bryant Safety and Security Solutions, based out of downtown Decatur, Georgia.
Okay, in the deck.
Okay. Yes.
Well, you know, I'm going to say that you're an OG in the security industry. Okay. We're gonna say OG. That'll be a compliment.
That is a compliment
because you've done this for over 20 years.
This is our 20th year anniversary, so this is a pretty big year for us.
Yeah.
Seems like it's flown by, but this is 20 years.
Not many people can hang in there. It's a tough industry.
It's a very, very competitive, very tough industry. But when you're meant to do it, you know, it works.
It does. And so I want to know what you did before you got into the security world, because you had a whole nother other life.
I got a whole nother other life. Where do I start? I started at, I'm a native of Georgia. Been in Atlanta since I was probably 10 years old. So old school Georgian, old school Atlantean, and ended up working at Six Flags as a teenager.
Good old Six Flags. I remember those summers. Could not wait.
Oh my goodness.
Could not wait. We would come in by the busload, from other parts of the state. Just get bussed in and just act a fool.
Oh yeah.
All day long until late at night, you know.
Well, I was out there acting a fool, but I was making money while I was acting a fool. So
what were you doing?
I was a ride attendant. They actually, all my high school friends, the ones that I liked, were working at Six Flags. And they tell me what a great time they were having and telling me I should go out and apply. And I applied, and I did not get it the first 2 times. So I kept going. It's like, okay, eventually they're going to hire me.
Right.
So on the 3rd time, it was a charm, and they hired me as a ride attendant and started working there. And each year, it's like, man, God, I enjoyed it so much. And I think that's where I started getting my confidence, dealing with a lot of people. And being a young person at Six Flags, they need people to be in charge of these rides. Then they need people to be in charge of a section of rides, group of rides. And they started recognizing that I had some leadership abilities, and I started recognizing that too. And it came really easy, just leading people. So I continued to get promoted. And 19 years later, I worked at Six Flags, and I went to college at night school. I ended up being a manager there over a 19-year period. And it didn't feel like work. I just enjoyed it so much. So graduated from college while I was raising a family and working at Six Flags as a manager. And it just became a career. I looked up, it's like a career. Now, my mother and my grandmother, they'd all joke with me. It's like, so you still going to be out at Six
Flags?
Yes,
They
ma'am.
were worried about you. They were concerned.
They were worried. Well, he just ain't gonna never grow up.
Right.
It's like, I'm in charge of stuff. And I've got like over 600 people reporting to me,
Right.
and I'm in charge of $1 million worth of rides and attractions and all kinds of stuff. So eventually they figured out really, when I was able to pay my way through college and not ask them for money, they realized, you know what,
It's a real job.
It's a real job. So that's what I did in my former life.
Now, Six Flags, how did you leave Six Flags, and then did you get into your own company from there?
You know what? When the way that I left Six Flags, after I finally graduated from college, I'd take a class here and a class there at night school, whatever I could take and afford. And I've decided eventually somebody would tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, don't come back. You get to graduate from college." So I did. And once I graduated from college, a company came in and purchased all of the Six Flags parks. And they started making a lot of cuts. And they didn't cut me, but they did cut some of the other positions. And at that time, I was in charge of risk management and safety at Six Flags. So they cut the security director. They cut a lot of maintenance people. And me being in charge of safety, having to deal with all these young teenagers and kids and being responsible, I felt responsible for their safety and well-being. And, of course, the 2.5 million guests that would come every year. So when the new company came in and they started making all these drastic cuts, they cut in maintenance, they cut in safety, they cut just in all kinds of areas.
The things they didn't need to cut.
The things they did not need to cut. They were very focused on immediate profits.
And that happens a lot.
It does happen a lot.
When it's time to cut the budget, they're going to always look, hey, do we actually need, this or that? So
those non-revenue generating
until something
departments
happens,
are the first to go.
Until something happens.
Until something
they
happens.
have some kind of tragedy, accident.
Right.
Yeah.
And when something happens, who's the front person? Who's that guy? That's the safety guy. And that was me. So I didn't feel comfortable anymore. I didn't feel as though it was the same company, and I felt like they were cutting the wrong areas and skimping on some of the safety elements of Six Flags, including the maintenance area. They're cutting some maintenance people, and they're building more rides every year. So I decided to try out that degree that I just got.
Which was?
It was in business management.
Okay.
So I left. Before I left, when they started all the cuts, they gave me risk management and security. They cut the security guy, gave me both. That's how I got into the security side of the business. And then they came back and they wanted to do some more cuts, and they wanted to cut some of my full-time supervisory staff. And I'm trying to figure out how not to work 7 days a week. And they're cutting staff. So I decided, it's time to go. And I didn't have another job to go to, but I said, you know what, this is it. Gave them my letter of resignation, asked them if they wanted me to stay on and help transition, and they said no. So I just left without a job, and I started putting my fillers out and ended up getting a offer with this company called Crawford and Company in their risk management division. So that's what I did. Was in an office. It was a drastic change from being outside at Six Flags and among a lot of people, but it was a great experience.
I was going to say that experience at Six Flags, it sounds like it set you up.
It set me up
for where you are today.
It did. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Sometimes we have to trust the process.
Yes.
We don't always understand, but it tends to work itself out.
And it did in this case. All the confidence and the knowledge that I gained from Six Flags, it made me feel like I could do whatever I wanted if I just worked hard. And taught at a very young age from my single mother and my grandparents what a good work ethic looked like.
Right.
So I already had that in me. But to be able to get all that experience from Six Flags, and it allowed me to do what I'm doing now.
So when you started your company, was it just you?
It was just me. It was just me.
Okay. Tell me your very first contract. Yeah.
It was with Six Flags.
Imagine that.
They hired me as a contractor.
Did you keep those relationships?
I still have them.
Okay.
Six Flags
Now,
is a current client of mine. So
you know how sometimes when you leave and you're like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
You know, you will sever all ties. What's the importance of keeping those relationships?
I had learned early on that you never burn a bridge, that there's a proper way. Even if you're mad, even if, they've done you wrong, there's always a proper way to leave it. And I had worked at Six Flags as a teenager all the way up as an adult and made it a career. I wanted to leave it as well as I found it. I didn't want that to be a sour relationship.
Right.
I have some of my best friends right now are relationships that I built at Six Flags. So I was determined not to burn that bridge.
That was a certain level of maturity. You were exercising a lot of maturity there, because again, a lot of people would have been like, I don't need this place. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And but did you develop and cultivate that maturity while you were there?
I did. When you're as young as 18, 19 years old, and they give you all sorts of responsibilities, and you're dealing with all types of situations, whether they be, injuries, tragedies, responsibility for literally millions of dollars worth of equipment and millions of people's lives, you're forced to mature early. So I credit that to Six Flags.
That's good. So first contract with your own company was with Six Flags. Because you kept a great relationship. You didn't burn bridges.
I did not burn the bridges.
And they remembered you, and they probably remembered your work ethic.
They did. They did. In fact, they did not want me to leave. They asked me to stay. And I had made up my mind that, I had young kids at the time. And I decided, and I think they respected the fact, look, I'm not going to work 7 days a week. I'm already on call 24 hours a day, but I'm going to take Sundays off. Right.
You need an off day.
Yeah, you need an off day, at least one, where I don't want to be bothered.
Don't call me.
Don't call me. Exactly. I'll be in church, and then I'll be spending time with my family. So I believe that deep down they respected the fact that I wanted to have that quality of life with my family, because you don't get those days back, cheerleading camp and going to see sporting events, and you don't get that back. So I think they respected that.
So that contract, what were you doing? What were you
when I initially started, I started as a safety consultant because I had done a lot of I had developed the safety protocols and programs for the maintenance department as a safety manager at Six Flags. So I was responsible for making sure that they were OSHA certified, OSHA trained, that we had all the policies and procedures in place to be OSHA compliant. So when I left, they asked if I wanted to continue to train their maintenance staff. So I was hired as a consultant to come in and conduct their training, continue that.
Okay.
So that's how I started. The second thing that I ended up doing was providing security. And I guess I need to jump back just a little bit, because I ended up working at Turner Broadcasting in their corporate security division, which was a great place to work.
I was going to say, corporate security job, a lot of people, that's very competitive to get in corporate security. So how long were you
I was there for
security?
7 years.
Okay.
And I had no intentions of leaving whatsoever. It was a great company. People just didn't leave Turner Broadcasting at CNN. But while I was there, other counterparts, I was in charge of the Omni Hotel security, and they're building a new building at the time in 2020 or 2005. And since I was in charge of the hotel division, ended up being the president of the Downtown Hotels Directors Association. So I met a lot of people in the industry.
Great networking opportunities.
Great networking, yes. Law enforcement. Just got a chance to meet a lot of great people in law enforcement. And I was able to cultivate a lot of partnerships from the state, federal, local level in law enforcement, as well as other security directors. So what I was hearing was other security directors saying, hey, we're looking for a security company to help supplement some of our short staff. Do you know anybody? And I would hear that a lot. So it's like, you know what? We've got some great people who work in some of our other locations, like our Techwood Cartoon Network locations and over at the CNN side of the business. So I went to my boss and I said, you know what? I get asked a lot of questions about or about a good security company. I can do that. And I could allow some of these guys who are always looking for extra jobs and extra work, I could get them and send them to these places, these hotels, and they can work. He said, yeah, that's fine. Except do not use the people who have a direct report to you. Makes sense.
Right.
I said, okay. So he gave me his blessing. He even wrote a letter to the state. You have to have a letter from showing your experience. And he wrote that letter for me. I sent it to the state, did the application process, and became licensed to do it. So from then, I would send people to these hotels, and they do overnight work, watching equipment, that sort of thing. And it just took off by leaps and bounds. So
you had to build it as you went.
I had to build it as I went.
Along the way, I'm sure there were times you didn't know what you.
I didn't know what I was doing.
You made it look good, though.
Again, Six Flags. It builds. If I could do what I did at Six Flags, anything else, I felt like I could do pretty easily. So there is a parking company that was directly across the street from Six Flags, and they had the contract to provide additional parking for the park. So I knew somebody there, and he said, hey, I'm looking for a security person to come and sit in this parking lot 4 hours a night, 4 hours before the park closes. And do you know anybody? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So when I got off work at Turner Broadcasting, I would put on a pair of khaki shorts, a yellow shirt, and security. I had the license. And I'd sit there in the parking lot and make sure no cars got broken into. They started increasing the hours in which they needed me to be there. And, of course, I had a full-time job. So it's like, you know what? I need to hire somebody to help me.
When there's a conflict, sometimes that's the thing that pushes you.
Yes.
So you had a dilemma. You had this contract, but you needed more people. You needed some help.
I needed some help. Could not do it all by myself.
Right.
So I started soliciting people to see if I could get some help, and was able to hire a little staff to do just that. And that's what we did, because I was pretty content. I was making a great living at Turner Broadcasting and sitting in the parking lot for 4 hours a day.
But you were working all the time, though.
I was working all the time, but that was okay. When you're young like that.
When you're young, that part,
keeps you out of trouble, and you can kind of put some money away. So that was a good thing.
So it flourished. Your company flourished from there. I mean, that's a nice start where you were actually on the ground doing the job yourself.
Yes.
And it's important to do that because then what's to be expected and how to communicate that to the people that are now working for you.
Yes.
who was your mentor during this time?
Absolutely. My boss at Turner Broadcasting, a gentleman named James Lucas, Jim Lucas.
What did he teach you?
God, he just taught me ethics and just, how to give back and how not to just take. And he taught me, I came from a single family home, or had a single mother parent. So he really taught me some principles of being a decent man, because I didn't have that.
Right.
My mom did a great job of raising me and my two siblings, but he taught me just how to be a good, honest guy. And he showed me what that looked like. And he is my mentor. I don't talk to him as much now after he retired, but he is my mentor to this day.
So
and I do want to shout out to James Lucas. Hopefully, Jim Lucas will see this, because I want him to know that.
Yeah, that's nice too, because sometimes people don't hear it.
Yeah.
They don't understand what an impact in this small, subtle things sometimes that help to shape your future, and in your case, even shape you in your manhood.
Absolutely.
So both on a personal and a business level. He sounds like he took some time with you, but what's important is you listened.
I did listen.
You listened. You probably watched and listened.
That's exactly right. He was he walked the walk, and didn't just talk the talk. I watched him, and I just walked. I watched how he dealt with others. I paid attention to his integrity, how he would do the right thing even when nobody was looking, and he just really instilled that sense of a sense of value in what I do, and he had the kind of personality, and where he wanted to help others. I mean, he didn't have to write a letter for me. I was his employee, right?
Right.
My job was to make sure I did what I was supposed to do at Turner. But he saw something beyond. Not everybody would do that and say, yeah, I'll be happy to write a letter so that you could get your license with the state and fulfill your dream. And in return, I gave him 110%.
Have you done that for others? Have you done the same thing and poured into others?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My faith is what guides me. And I know that the Lord gives everybody gifts and talents. The Bible says he will give you gifts and talents that will make room for you. So he'll give you what you need in order to make a living.
Right.
But he gives us these things not just so that we could get.
Right.
He gives us these gifts so that we can pour into other people and help them, kind of be his boots on the Lord's boots on the ground on earth. So I saw that in my mentor, and it's important to me to do the same, to pay it forward.
That's good. Now, with your company, where it stands now, what sort of contracts do you take on? Because the security industry is huge.
It's huge.
You can niche down into so many different areas, but do you have a specialty?
I do. We, with my background in just customer service and hospitality and the entertainment industry, it's important to me to take on contracts where we deal with people from a de-escalation standpoint.
Okay.
I've never been really attracted to the police type security profile.
Like armed security?
I haven't done it. I've decided to get into it recently, but it's a process. I like to hire people who have good customer service focus.
Okay.
Because my philosophy is I can teach you security, but I can't teach you how to treat people.
That's true.
And my thing is, we should be able to go in and de-escalate any situation. If we can't, then we call the police.
Mm-hmm.
They're trained to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we stand back and we observe and we report, so that we can give the police the best information they need in order to either make that arrest or to de-escalate the situation. I don't believe in putting my people in harm's way, because I don't want them to be police-like.
Right.
There are police for that reason.
Do you do what type of, do you do events, sporting events, arenas?
My company has been recognized as a leader in arena type sporting events, as well as major events.
What are some of the ones you've done? Some events?
We had a hand in the Super Bowl when it was here in Atlanta, which I'm quite proud of.
Mm-hmm.
We were responsible not only for a lot of the conventions surrounding the parties that surrounded the Super Bowl here in Atlanta. We were also responsible for guarding and making sure the Vincent Lombardi trophy and the Super Bowl rings were protected.
No, that's a lot. If you screw that up,
there's
no coming back from that one.
Absolutely.
But, so I'm going to assume all went well.
It all went well.
There were no mishaps.
There were no mishaps.
Okay.
Yeah, no mishaps at all. Even though Tom Brady was a recipient that year, and of course Tom Brady had the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history when they played Atlanta. So it was very difficult for me to turn over those rings.
I know. I bet
it was a test in my ethics to turn that trophy over to him yet another time.
Right.
But we managed to do it, and it was a success.
What are some of the unique, I guess when you're working like events like that, what are some of the things that happen there at those sort of like sporting events that you might not encounter doing some other security jobs? Yeah.
With that, as well as it wasn't the World Cup, but there was the playoffs for the World Cup that were here last year in Atlanta. We did some work with them. Those fans are very passionate in soccer.
That's a good way to put it. We'll say passionate.
We'll say passionate. They're very passionate. And they will do almost anything to get close to those players. So we have to be a step ahead of them. And I mean, I've seen it where they would come dressed up like if we're providing coverage at a hotel where they're having their meetings and actually staying, where they'll dress up like housekeepers.
Oh, goodness. Just to get to their room to try to,
Yeah, so we scrutinize everything. And we have caught people who are pretty crafty in some of the ways of trying to get in to see their favorite players. And they're relentless. They are absolutely relentless. It's like a cult. Like something I've never seen. So
Jeez.
Those are some of the challenges, but you can't, you just have to scrutinize everything because our job has been to protect those players and make sure they make their curfew and where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there so that they can be fully refreshed and ready to do their jobs on the soccer field.
Right. Where do you see the future of security, the security industry going?
I see it going to a lot of AI and robotics. And I'm a techie, so I get excited about stuff like that. I don't think you'll ever be able to replace human beings totally in security, but I think there are some advancements on the horizon as it relates to robotics. I think we're almost there. I don't think we're there yet.
Right.
But I think with AI being so popular and robotics just being so lifelike and being able to detect some of the things that it can detect. I think we're getting real close to it. And of course, the prices, as like any kind of technology, it starts off really high. And then eventually it's going to come down. And I think we will start to see robots doing the jobs of some of in the security industry.
So would you be looking then for, when you go to hire people,
Yes.
human beings, would you be looking for a certain and a different skill set then? If you've now incorporated all of this technology, do you see a need for kind of changing up the ideal person to manage that and to oversee
Absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. I've done some experimenting with drones. So if you're at a location, say a chemical plant, for instance, and their budget will allow them to have maybe 2 security officers, but they've got this huge facility that we need to protect and keep eyes on, then, let's deploy a drone. I'm sorry, Nikki. Hey, I'm a techie. I warned you. I warned you. So you need an officer who is not only diligent about making sure that they are doing their patrols, but maybe somebody who has an interest in operating a drone.
Yeah.
So those are things that pique my interest when I'm interviewing people.
That's good. So how do you stay at the top of your game and stay sharp in this ever-changing industry?
I also do legal work. And it's not my favorite thing to do, I'll be very honest. But I'm hired across the country as a security legal expert when it comes to litigated cases, civil litigation. So they'll call me in to kind of analyze. Some different lawyers will hire me to come and analyze the security processes and protocols as it relates to an incident that occurred where there's litigation involved. And it forces me to stay on top of my game, to research, see what's out there, and see what maybe could have been done or should have been done. So while it's not my favorite thing to do, I enjoy doing it because it keeps me sharp and it keeps my security guard business thriving and staying on the cutting edge.
Okay. So do you foresee any expansion for your company?
Oh, yeah. The World Cup is coming to Atlanta in 2026.
Everybody wants a piece of that.
Everybody's
talking about it.
And there will be a piece for everybody. I mean, when we did the Super Bowl, that was a lot of work available. But the World Cup, I think, is probably magnified because this is a world event, not just the United States events. In the U.S., we love our football, but across the world, the globe,
they like the other football.
They like the other football.
Yeah.
So we're going to be extremely busy, and the smart security companies in any business, really, you're preparing for that, and that's exactly what we're doing. We want to do everything. We want to be everything security by that time. So things that we haven't done in the past, we've started doing now. We've started preparing for it. You asked me about armed security before. The workforce, from my perspective, has not been where I want it to be. The available people who are willing and able to work. So we've had to.
Sounds like you have a certain standard.
I have
that
a
you're
standard.
Not finding.
And I'm not just going to put somebody out there with a firearm and they end up hurting themselves, killing an innocent person. So now is a good time to kind of step back and start taking some of these people in and start preparing them methodically to be trained.
So you're going to be doing a lot of hiring?
We're doing a lot of hiring right now.
Okay. Well, how can people find out more information?
Absolutely. They can go to our website, safetysecurity.com and click on the hiring tab, and it will give you a list of current positions that we're filling right now. And as soon as you fill out that application, it will come directly to our HR recruiter, and we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Big things popping.
Big things popping. We're excited.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed this.
So have I, Nikki.
Yeah. I've really, really enjoyed it. You've given a lot of great information and given some opportunities for people if they want to take advantage by going to your website as well. So all the best to you and your business and the future. And,
well, I love your platform.
Oh, thank you.
I stay on it, and you asked me, how do you stay informed? This is one of the ways that I do it.
Okay.
So thank you for the invite.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's my pleasure. I know that you add value to this space, so
thank you.
It's nice to have people who are at the top of their game coming in and providing that knowledge. So, yeah, so it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right. You too, Nikki.
All right.